Hi, my name is Alexis Lathan, and I am making a video on the myofascial lines in badminton. Badminton is a very multi-planar sport and has lots of different movements in it, so it is an awesome opportunity to show the different kinds of lines that are incorporated in this sport. I'll show you in the video. Now, we're going to look at the superficial back line and how it plays an important role in the badminton smash. Okay, so the superficial back line connects the entire posterior surface of the body from the bottom of the foot to the top of the head in two pieces, toes to knees and then knees to the brow. Now, we would have a full continuous line if the knees were extended, so that would lead to the one continuous line of integrated myofascia. Okay, so the line runs from the underside of the foot to the back of the leg to the sacrum and up the back of the skull and over the skull to the forehead. Now this is responsible to support the body in full extension to prevent the tendency to curl over into flexion. So example would be the fetal position, okay? So the superficial back line requires a higher proportion of the slow twitch muscles, endurance muscles. So when you're going back for that badminton smash, you want to make sure that you're really opening up and that you're not curling over to really extend your body so that you can have as much power as required. Okay, the superficial backline requires extra heavy sheets and bands in the fascial portions of the Achilles tendon, hamstrings, sacrotuberous ligament, thoracolumbar fascia, cables of the erector spinae, and the occipital lobe. Like I said before, the superficial backline creates an extension and hyperextension in the knees and ankles. Okay, now we look at this myofascial tract. It starts with the plantar surface of the toe of the phalanges / the plantar fascia and the short toe flexors. It goes up to your calcaneus, through your gastrocnemiuses and the Achilles tendon, and connects to the condyles of the femur, followed by the hamstrings, the ischial tuberosity, the sacrotuberous ligament and the sacral fascia, connecting to your sacrum, goes through sacrolumbar fascia and your erector spinae, up to your occipital ridge, and then all the way to the frontal brow of the ridge. Okay, and this is another shot of Jessica, and it just demonstrates that full extension and the hyperextension of the knees and the ankle. Now moving from your superficial back line, we're going to move to your superficial front line. Okay, now instead of looking at the badminton extension for the smash, we're going to look at the coil over. So your superficial front line connects the entire anterior surface of the body from the top of the feet to the side of the skull in two pieces, toes to pelvis and pelvis to head. Now this runs from the top of the toes to the front of the leg, up to the torso, to the top of the sternum, and passes alongside of the neck to the back of the skull. This is important because it acts as a balance line to the back line, so it coils you over. It also provides tensile support for the top to lift the parts of the skeleton which extend forward of the gravity line, like the pubis, the rib cage, and the face. The myofascial maintains the postural extension of the knee. Now, this movement is to create flexion of the trunk, the hips, extension of the knee, and the dorsiflexion of the foot, so it has a higher portion of fast twitch muscle fibers. So when you're coiling over for that badminton smash, you want to generate all that power from the superficial back line to the superficial front line. You're opening up and then you're coiling in as fast as you can to generate and transfer all that power into that shuttle to make it have an impact to go over the net. So the myofascial tract starts with the dorsal surface of the toe of the phalanges, your toe extensors, to your tibialis anterior, your tibial tuberosity, your patellar like a ligament, your patella, rectus femoris, to your quadriceps, your anterior inferior iliac spine, your pubic tubercle, rectus abdominis, sternalis, sternocondyle of the fascia, the sternomandrium, the sternocleidomastoid, and the mastoid process. So still looking at the badminton smash, sometimes you're not always going to get the shuttle right in front of you or right behind you for that extension. You're going to get it on the side to cut it over. So this is a great opportunity to talk about the lateral line. Alright, so the lateral line starts from underside of the foot up to the side of the leg and trunk, under the shoulder, complex to the side of the neck and skull. Posturally, this helps balance the front and the back, and bilaterally to balance the left and right. So you can see it's important to not have me go into like over flexion or over lateral flexion. So this movement creates the lateral bend in the body, the lateral flexion of the trunk, abduction at the hip, and eversion at the foot. Now the myofascial tract that's responsible for this is the peroneal muscles, the lateral cruciate compartment, the fibular head, the anterior ligament of the head of the fibula, lateral tibial condyle, ischial-tibial tract / your abductor muscles, your tensor fascia latae, gluteus maximus, iliac crest, ASIS, PSIS, lateral abdominal obliques to your ribs, external and internal intercostiles, and the splenius capitis and sternocleidomastoid, all the way to your occipital ridge and mastoid process. Now, this kind of puts a different diagram on that has like a whole bunch of crosses, which I find really, really interesting. So now we're going to be looking at the spiral lines, so the helical lines, okay? Now this is a good opportunity to see that Josephine has turned and has made a defensive shot, as well as this is now Jessica because she shows a little bit better of the back line in that extension to get the shuttle at the front of the net. Okay, so your spiral line runs from the side of the skull across the neck to the opposite side of the shoulder and ribs, and through the back across the belly to the front of the hip, the outside of the knee, the inside of the ankle, and the under the arch of the foot, and back up the leg and back to the skull. This posturally helps maintain balance across all planes, sagittal, frontal, transverse. It connects the foot arches with the pelvic angle and helps determine the efficient knee tracking in walking. Okay, in the movement, it helps create and mediate spirals and rotation to the side of the body, also as the eccentric and isometric contractions to steady the trunk, and legs to help them keep them from falling into like a rotational collapse. So it keeps Jessica here stable and so she doesn't fall over. Now the myofascial tracts, because it goes from the top of the body all the way down to the bottom of the body and up, it has quite a long process. So it starts at the occipital ridge, goes to the sacral-lumbar fascia, the erector spinate, through the acromion, the sacrotuberous ligament, ischial tuberosity, bicep femoris, the ribular head, the peroneus longus, the first metatarsal base towards your tibialis anterior, up through your lateral tibial condyle, through the tensor fasciis latae, the ischial tuberosity tract, iliac crest, ASIS, internal oblique, the external oblique, lateral ribs, serratus anterior, the medial border of the scapulae, the rhomboid major and minor. And then it goes to your lower cervical and upper thoracic spinous process, through the splenius capitis and the cervicis and the occipital ridge to the mastoid process and the axis of the transverse process. Next, we just want to add in the front fascial lines, which run from one shoulder across to the front of the belly to the opposite leg. And then also is the back fascial line, which runs from one shoulder across to the back of the opposite leg. Thank you for my presentation. The references that I used was Anatomy Trains, 2nd edition with Thomas W. Myers, as well as I used Lorraine Glass's lecture notes. Thank you.